Welcome to the BFit Blueprint Podcast. We're your hosts, Cody Israel and Brad Durham. For all you BFit members and beyond, this is where we break down the blueprint of building a healthier, stronger you. In every episode, we share actionable tips, expert advice, and real stories to inspire you to level up your mind, body, and lifestyle. Whether you're just taking your first step or pushing for the next breakthrough, we've got the tools to get you there.
What is up, guys? Welcome back to episode 2 of the BFit Blueprint Podcast. I'm Cody Israel, head coach here at BFit CrossFit, and we have a new guest on today.
Hi, my name is Cailie Stewart, and I'm the nutrition coach here at BFit, and I've been here about 3.5 years. I have my degree in dietetics and nutrition from the University of Central Missouri, and I also have a certification through Precision Nutrition.
Awesome. Today we are going to talk to you about, if that gave you any hint, we're going to talk about nutrition, all right, the importance of that when it comes to your healthy lifestyle and being in the gym, and more so an emphasis on protein, all right, and a little background on visceral fat and why it is important. Okay, so today, all right, we're going to start off with protein. We kind of mentioned it last week or last month in the podcast about, lifting weights, building muscle, how important that is. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the importance of protein. And protein is essentially the building blocks for your muscle, okay? You can send the signal to build muscle by lifting weights, but that is only part of the equation. The other part of the equation would be supplementing that through your diet by eating more protein, okay? A good gauge for protein would be roughly 1 gram per pound of body weight, or desired body weight, depending on your goals. But that's a good rough estimate because the studies say adequate amounts of protein is like 0.8 grams, but 1 is a nice round number, so you don't got to do any math. And if you happen to come up just a little bit short, you'll still hit the adequate amount.
Yeah, that's a really simple equation, simple number I like to give a lot of people. Sometimes that can be hard to reach, so we also have to see kind of where people are starting with that protein goal. So if you have someone that weighs 150 pounds and they're only getting 40 grams of protein a day, which I've actually seen, you may have to start with maybe 80 and gradually build up.
Yep, let's stair-step you up, because if you're not used to eating 150 grams and you're used to eating 40, that is a massive undertaking to jump 110 grams of protein a day. Especially, and like I think I mentioned it last week maybe, especially if you're a female who's not used to, eating that much. Like, that's, if you're eating 3 meals a day, that's 50 grams of protein per meal.
Yes.
That's a lot of food. That's 8 ounces or more of either chicken breast or meat. So breaking that into smaller portions or supplementing that with like a 50-gram protein shake, 30 to 50 gram protein shake, can be very beneficial in that. Now, ideally, we try to get it through whole foods.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the thing that I've noticed the most with people increasing their protein is it crowds out the other stuff they were eating. So when we start gradually adding protein and fruits and vegetables, people cannot, I've literally had clients tell me, I cannot eat all that you want me to eat. So when we're eating whole foods, which means foods that you could get from a farmer's market, fruits, vegetables, meats, things like that, our body runs very efficiently. And protein has a thermic effect. So it takes your body a lot of energy to break down that protein. And so somebody that's eating, let's say 1,600 calories a day, if you're eating all processed foods, that might actually digest more like 2,000 calories a day, because those foods are already processed and broken down. So your body doesn't have to do any work to digest them. So for example, peanuts versus peanut butter, you might actually absorb more calories from the peanut butter because it's already processed. Your body has to work a little harder, especially protein, because protein has a high thermic effect. Your body uses maybe 20 to 30% more calories breaking down that protein. So if you're eating a 1,600 calorie diet and you're eating a lot of protein, you might actually be taking in only 1,200 calories.
Yeah, to make that a little simpler. So say you have 100 grams of straight protein, okay? Your body's going to use essentially 20 to 30% of that energy just to digest that. So you're really only, quote unquote, consuming 70 to 80 grams of calories in that, so in the overall scheme of things, you would be consuming less calories with a high protein diet than you would be with a low protein diet if the calories are equated. So if that makes sense. Whereas carbohydrates, the thermic effect of food is only about 5 to 15%. So in that same 100 calories, you're getting, 85 to 95. And fat, because our bodies use fat for energy, it's very easily digested and absorbed. The thermic effect of food for fat is like 0 to 3%, which is fine because fat is essential. We need fat, but just an overabundance of fat, especially like processed foods and stuff, is very easily absorbed in the body and can be easily stored as body fat when eaten in excess.
Yeah, and your body does need fat. I mean, we have fat-soluble vitamins like vitamins A, D, E, and K. So it is a very, very important essential nutrient for hormone production and all sorts of things. So we don't want to eliminate it.
Yeah, our vitamins and a lot of things are transported with fat. Like you need fat in order for your body to absorb vitamins and minerals, some of that. So, anyways, going on to the importance and the value of protein. So, along with helping build muscle, it also helps balance out your blood sugar. All right, so in a meal that you're eating, okay, say it's got 50 carbs and you're eating 50 protein, whatever, your blood sugar can be affected by the order in which you eat your meal. So if you eat protein first, all right, your blood sugar is most likely or more likely to not be as affected versus you were to eat the higher carb food first, just because of the way the body digests it. It helps keep the blood sugar a little bit lower eating the protein first versus the carbs.
I actually had a family member that had a continuous glucose monitor on, and they said that they ate a chicken breast and a donut, and it had no impact because of the protein first. Yeah. So it was somebody who was watching their blood sugar, and it's kind of cool to see that. So balance out that protein every meal.
The BFit Blueprint is brought to you by Bratton Dental Company, where your smile is our priority. At Bratton Dental, we combine state-of-the-art technology with personalized care to give you the confidence you deserve. From routine cleanings to advanced cosmetic and restorative treatments, our expert team is here to help every step of the way. Ready to love your smile? Visit BrattonDentalCo.com today and schedule your appointment. Bratton Dental Company, bringing life to your smile.
Yeah, because with that blood sugar rush right after, if you eat your carbs first, or everybody's felt that where after in the after lunchtime, that 1 to 2 o'clock, you get that blood sugar spike and then it drops rapidly. That's kind of the same concept of versus eating your protein first. You can kind of avoid that spike and drop in that blood sugar levels to help kind of keep your energy more level throughout the day.
Yeah, and it should actually keep you more full and satisfied. So if you have a muffin and a latte for breakfast, you're probably going to be hungry by 9:30 a.m. So if you eat a good amount of protein, it should last you till lunch.
Yeah. The protein, it kind of helps modify the appetite hormones with like leptin and ghrelin. Ghrelin is your like hunger hormone. When it's high, it's like your body's like signaling that you're really hungry. So that's kind of where eating a lot of protein can kind of help keep that hormone, your hunger hormone, a little bit lower, a little bit longer, and keep you from getting so hungry or hangry throughout the day.
Yeah, I mean, eating lots of protein, you can make your own GLP-1.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that's essentially what it is.
Yep. All right. Moving on to kind of, those are the benefits of protein, and now moving on to how that can help you, gain weight and lose weight, kind of building some metabolic flexibility and just making it easier on you to reach your goals. So, for an example of someone who wants to, they come into the gym and they want to lose weight, okay? Well, say this person has already been dieting and is really low on calories. They've tried everything. At that point, you cannot really just continue lowering a person's calories, because you're going to run them into the ground and kind of create some metabolic dysfunction there, where their body is operating on super low calories. Okay, so what we would like to do with that person if they come into our gym is slowly start to stair step up their calories. Okay, and giving them the peace of mind that their body and their mental sanity is going to thank them down the road, because versus kind of running themselves into the ground, we have to take a step back and look at this into a 6 to 12 to 24 month view of where we want to be. Would you say that's what you kind of do with your clients to come in that situation?
Yeah, I haven't had a whole lot of clients here that are in a real low calorie situation.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely, I think that that's a great place to start if they were. So if I see somebody that's taking in 1,000 calories and making no progress, then I think, as I spoke in another podcast, even when I worked for Weight Watchers, a strategy would be actually to put that client on their maintenance calories instead of weight loss, and they would actually lose weight. Because our metabolism's like a campfire. So if you don't put wood on it, it's not going to burn.
Yep.
So you want to make it, you want to maximize it, basically. And doing things like eating whole foods, lifting weights, exercising, all those things help just maximize your metabolism.
Yeah, and coming from a gym that does some high intensity exercise, our body is very good at adapting to what it's given. There's this study that I think it's the Hakka tribe or Hadza tribe in Africa. They're hunter-gatherers, and they did this study where they kind of measured their metabolic allowance, how many calories they burn throughout the day. And so remember, they're hunter-gatherers, they're up on their feet, running all day, chasing their food, getting 20 to 30,000 steps a day. Well, the results of the study showed that they burn about the same amount of calories as us Americans, who are much more sedentary. So that just shows how flexible someone getting 20 to 30,000 steps a day, doesn't ever sit down, hunting their food, burning the same amount of calories as your standard American who maybe gets 5 to 6,000 steps a day. That's just how flexible our metabolism and our bodies can be. So with that in mind, someone who comes into the gym or who is already doing super high intensity exercise and wants to lose weight, they're probably going to hear something that they don't want to hear, whereas, hey, we need to increase your calories, we need to build your metabolism up. Because if we can build your metabolism up, say from 1,200 calories, because if someone comes in eating 1,200 calories and they want to lose weight, it's kind of hard to do that because you don't want to take them any lower in calories because they're not going to be eating anything besides ice cubes the rest of the day after breakfast and lunch. So we want to stair-step their calories up, and it'll take a little process. Like you might want to jump 200 to 300 calories to kind of get them up a little bit, and then across the weeks, 1 to 2 weeks at a time, increase a little bit of calories. That way the body can adapt, slowly and build up the metabolism.
And I might add that you really have to track, right, to see where you're at for any starting point. So it's hard to stay on track if you don't track. Whether you're trying to add or subtract calories, protein, whatever it is, if you have no idea where you are, there's no starting point. So it's really, really important to get a good gauge of where people are at with protein intake, calorie intake, all of it. So I think people really underestimate the amount of calories that they take in.
Absolutely.
By hundreds. And even I know when I worked at Weight Watchers, they called them BLTs, bites, licks, tastes, like eating off your kid's plate at lunch and while you're cooking, tasting. All these things add up. So you really, really have to give yourself and whoever you're working with a really accurate measurement of what you're taking in if you want to make a change, because it's an important starting point.
Well, and then along with the FDA allows 20% difference in the calorie in foods, like especially so. Like say in a Big Mac, there's 500 and some calories in a Big Mac. Well, that can be off by up to 20%. So it could actually be like 700 calories in a Big Mac, which that can add up a lot if that's something you eat often.
Yeah, so another plug to eat Whole Foods.
Yeah, because Whole Foods, we know exactly what's in those.
You know exactly what's in there, what amount of energy is in there. And when you try to outsmart your body, it'll try to outsmart you. So when you are trying to continuously be in a deficit, and I've known people that have done this. I've done this myself. So you just keep lowering and lowering and lowering. Like Cody said, there's nowhere to go. You have no energy. It influences your hormone production, your metabolism, everything. So it's really important to maximize that metabolism. And when you do that, everything runs very, very smoothly.
Yep. And I would say if for someone who is in this situation and they want to start reverse dieting is what I would call this, slowly adding calories in, I would tell them to shift kind of what you're focusing on away from the scale and kind of numbers that are reading, and try to shift that to your performance in the gym. Because if all things are going well, all right, you're eating enough calories, you're eating more calories than you're used to eating, your body's going to have a lot more energy, a lot more fuel, and you can use that to essentially make gains in the gym and lift more weights, get stronger, build more muscle, and building more muscle and getting stronger in the end is going to help you lose the weight that much faster whenever we get you to a certain point to cut back down.
And keep you more metabolically healthy, just like we're going to talk about here in a couple minutes. Yep. But this can be really, really hard, especially for women or anyone that has a history of disordered eating. And let's face it, I think a lot of people have disordered eating, even if you don't have an eating disorder.
Yep, I would say majority of people in the gym setting.
I think so too. So this can be really hard. And that's why if you've been tracking really, really tight, and you come in 100%, you're around a 1,200 calorie, hey, let's look at adding just even 50 calories a week, 100 calories a week maybe. Just doing that slowly so that you don't send them into panic mode as well.
Yeah, because we do have to take into the account of the mental side of things when doing that, because we know it is very mentally challenging to both of us coming from that place before, like paying so much attention to the scale and how much you're eating, like over analyzing how much you're eating and like what you should eat. It is very hard mentally to add in food and kind of watch the scale go up, even if it's good weight, even if you're building muscle. There's something psychological about that number on the scale where it just throws you through a loop. So that's why we here at BFit have been trying to kind of reshape the thought process around the scale, and kind of just we got these new Hume scales trying to get people's attention to focus more on the body fat percentage and the muscle mass and stuff along those lines. It is something we want. We want that to go up.
Yeah, so
the muscle mass, not the body fat percentage.
Muscle mass, the things that the Hume scale can measure would be muscle mass, your bone density, which is huge, especially for women as we get older. This is really, really important. And like we're going to talk about here in a minute, visceral fat and the impact it can have. And I will tell you that body recomposition can be like watching grass grow. So you have to be very, very, very patient. Whether you're trying to gain weight or lose weight, it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of consistency. It's not difficult, but you do have to be patient.
Yeah, it takes a little bit of grit to do it.
It does.
But that's why I would also recommend for someone who's doing that is to take pictures of yourself, maybe once, twice a month, because you see yourself every day in the mirror. You're not going to notice little changes, but if you have these records from 1 month, 2 months, 3 months ago, and kind of hold them up side by side, you can be like, wow, that is a huge difference from where I used to come. It's like, I didn't think I was making any progress, but I look back and it's like, dang, I'm doing pretty good.
That's a great point, Cody. I actually had a client do that one time. She was terrified she would not get on the scale. And I said, okay. I said, you can take a picture. You can choose to send it to me or not. And I worked with her for about 6 months. And at the end of the 6 months, she showed me, and just to see her face light up, she never would get on a scale. And I could tell that she was losing fat just by looking at her, and other people around the gym could tell. So that's really great. Or measurements with a tape measure. And even though you might not be losing weight, you could lose inches.
Yeah, for sure.
I know this for sure. And so just measuring hips, waist, things like that, those can really be a better option than the scale sometimes.
Yeah, so one more note on like dieting and protein. So when you are in a healthy spot metabolically and do decide to diet down or cut down, the person who is dieting down, I would recommend eat more protein in that scenario, because you're going to be in a state where you're not feeding your body enough. Your body doesn't have enough energy, so it's going to start to pare down tissue. Okay. Obviously, we're going to be lifting weights, so we're going to be sending the signal to maintain or build muscle. But to, I guess, put up another reinforcement wall would be to eat slightly more protein when you are in a deficit.
Yeah, I mean, for body recomposition, as far as fat loss goes, when you're trying to lose fat, it is really, really, really important that you really, really up that protein. Especially someone that's on a GLP-1, and I know that's actually really hard for them to even eat that much.
Oh yeah.
It's even hard for them to eat just the protein that's recommended. So eating that protein can really help preserve muscle loss. We don't want to lose, I mean, I like to say fat loss instead of weight loss a lot of times, because we really don't want to lose muscle. It's so valuable. We just really want to think about
The BFit Blueprint is sponsored by Precision Metalworks. Attention, makers, creators, and doers. When precision is key, you need a partner you can trust. That's where Precision Metalworks comes in. With decades of experience crafting high-quality custom metal components, they bring your vision to life with precision engineering, unbeatable craftsmanship, and a commitment to excellence. Whether you're in aerospace, automotive, or looking for that one-of-a-kind custom project, they've got the tools and experience to get it done the right way the first time. Don't settle for less. Choose Precision Metalworks, where innovation meets precision. Visit precision-metal-works.com today, and let's build something amazing together.
Recompositioning, so basically turning that fat into muscle, and protein really helps to preserve that.
Yep, and that just goes back to this also keeping you full or longer. You know, the higher the protein, it's more satiating. You'll burn more calories, eat more protein. Now on the flip side, if someone's trying to gain weight, you're giving yourself an excess of nutrients, which you're going to use to fuel your workouts and build muscle. You probably need more so that 0.8 to 1 gram of protein versus dieting maybe the 1 to 1.2 grams. Just because you're already in the excess calories, so your body's going to have enough fuel. It's not going to be trying to tear down any muscle. It's going to be trying to build muscle. And excess protein in that scenario isn't going to build any extra muscle. You know, all it's going to do is probably make it harder to eat more calories. So you're going to be,
and it could increase your metabolism as well.
Yeah, so
a little bit. Yeah.
Yep. So someone who's trying to gain weight probably hit the bare minimum of around 1, and then kind of focus on getting some fats and proteins to make it a little bit easier to gain weight if you're trying to do that.
And if you're trying to gain weight, I had a client one time that really wasn't eating enough to gain weight.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of that same idea of stimulating that metabolism.
Yeah.
So I tried to get him to eat small bits frequently, and by the end he put on about 10 pounds of muscle. It was really rewarding, but he wasn't eating breakfast, he wasn't eating snacks. So think about, like, if you're trying to gain muscle, gain weight, bulk, maybe 2 breakfasts, lots of snacks, things like full fat dairy, and adding some olive oil, avocado oil to your vegetables and things like that. Just trying to sneak in healthy calories if you can.
Yeah. White rice is always my go-to. White rice is just it's very palatable, and it's so easy to digest. It's easy on the stomach, and you can eat quite a bit of that. Just put a little soy sauce on there. Man, that's good. All right, transitioning away from the protein, we want to talk a little bit about one of the readings on our Hume scales, and a lot of scales have at home, is the visceral fat. All right?
Yes.
And that is the fat that kind of is not subcutaneous. The subcutaneous fat is the one stuff you can grab, skin fold, whereas the visceral fat is the fat that is the deep fat, the stuff that is in and around your organs.
It's actually referred to sometimes as active fat.
Yes.
And we'll kind of break that down a little bit. So first of all, before I preface this visceral fat, if you've gotten a reading on the scale that maybe is at the top end of what they consider normal, I think for the bioimpedance reading, it was anything above 12 was a little on the higher side. That's what they consider high. You might need to start looking at some of your blood work and things like that. Things like HbA1c, fasting glucose. I think it's a waist to height ratio, which can be really helpful. I mean, it's just another indicator. But those are the kind of things that might indicate a little bit of metabolic health issues. And when I say metabolic health, I'm basically saying that you're storing fat in the right place, and that your body is efficient at converting your nutrients into energy. So that's basically kind of an easy definition of metabolic health. And visceral fat, all of us have a different fat threshold, which is interesting. So some people have a great capacity to have a lot of subcutaneous fat, so fat that's just, not causing any impact. And other people have a lower threshold. So some people might be more like an average weight, but the fat starts infiltrating their organs sooner and causing more problems.
Yeah. So an example of that would, and maybe people have heard the term like skinny fat.
Yes.
You'll see people, people who are super skinny, but they might get on one of those scales and it says they have a high visceral fat. Typically, that person is someone who does not lift weights, is not very active, pretty sedentary. They're not getting the metabolic effects of exercise, and so that can kind of facilitate more visceral fat storage in the midsection.
Yeah, and I mean, high visceral fat has been linked to things like Alzheimer's, heart disease, cancer, type 2 diabetes, prediabetes, stroke, high cholesterol, all those things. So it can wreak havoc on your body.
Yeah, and so visceral fat is kind of like the fat that you can't really see. Like we said, it's kind of inside the body, around the organs. It kind of surrounds your liver. It kind of puts a little strain on your organs, your intestines, kind of pushing on them. Yeah, blood vessels, making them work a little bit harder, which as we know, doesn't lead to very good things down the road when our internal organs are strained a little bit more than they should be.
So if you have a high amount of visceral fat, if they did like a slice of your liver, it might look like a Kobe beefsteak, if you've ever seen a picture of what that looks like. And after time, this visceral fat grows its own blood vessels, gets its own oxygen supply, and secretes its own hormones. And these hormones are programmed to make it grow. So they actually it's like a tumor. They're encouraged to make it grow as fast as possible. And it also secretes some inflammatory hormones. And it can kind of make you feel lazy because the calories that you're taking in go to that visceral fat before they go to your muscles. So somebody that's metabolically healthy wouldn't have this experience, and they'd actually feel less hungry, more satisfied than somebody that might have a high amount of visceral fat. And that metabolically healthy person might also have more energy. So, because it kind of zaps your energy.
Yeah.
As
So
well.
once you have that, like with the high amount of visceral fat, the excess calories that you consume goes towards that visceral fat more so than like the subcutaneous fat or like your muscle bellies.
Yeah. So if you're taking in excess calories, more than what your body can handle, it goes into your liver. And your liver kind of spits it out into the form of things like high triglycerides and things like that. Your liver can't take this toxic overload of calories, basically excessive calories.
Yep. And so things that, so if you do have the high visceral fat, so yes, maybe get the high visceral fat reading on like a scale. We would encourage you to go get like a full blood panel so you can kind of get some blood work done and kind of see how accurate that is. If it is, something would probably need to be addressed. And we would recommend going down the exercise route, adding in some metabolic activity throughout the week. I always recommend the easiest way to do that is by going on walks.
Yeah.
Walks.
Make yourself a goal of 8,000 to 12,000 steps a day would be a great place to start. Just movement throughout the day.
Very accessible. And now if you're someone who only takes 2,000 steps a day right now, try to get 4,000 to 5,000 steps a day.
Just like the protein.
Yep, just like the reverse dieting.
Yep.
Stair step your way up to slowly start accumulating. Let your body adapt to getting more steps in. It'll start to burn more calories. And then once you feel confident enough and your body feels a little bit better, then I would recommend taking the step of getting in the gym and start lifting weights because, like we mentioned, building more protein or building more muscle mass is going to help shuttle those nutrients, those excess calories into helping build muscle versus using that for building the visceral fat around your organs.
And muscle is a sugar sponge, so once again, lessening the impact on your organs.
Yep.
So really, really important to grow that muscle and take some of that calorie spillover not into your organs.
Yep. And then also just focusing on eating whole foods, minimally processed, because the processed foods, they are designed to just make you keep eating them and overeat. So the less processed food in your diet, I'll say the better, the less likely you are to overeat.
And I think when processed foods started, there was a good intention, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it was designed to be convenient,
Yes.
and so we could feed our troops and all those sorts of things. But over time, as market has become very competitive, and now they are marketing towards children, and there's just a little bit of a lack of awareness of how these things impact us.
Yeah.
So we're in a tough food environment, Cody. I would say a really tough food environment. It's really hard.
Everything's at our fingertips.
It
The
is.
access is right at our
It
fingertips.
is.
It's easier to go to the store or DoorDash or get something that's already made, packed full of who knows what, and just throw it in the microwave or heat it up in the oven or have it delivered to your door. It's a lot easier to do that than it is to, cook a full-fledged meal made out of whole foods.
Yeah, but if you really start thinking about it, and I know, Cody, you and I have talked about this a lot, it doesn't have to be difficult, scrambled eggs, apples and peanut butter, just the most simple things that are whole foods that can be simple and nourishing. But if you're looking at a high level of visceral fat, that's really when we start wanting to look at what your macros are looking like. I think sometimes, once again, people underestimate the amount of maybe processed carbohydrate they're taking in, sugary drinks, things like that, alcohol, all those things are digested just like sugar, alcohol, pasta, all those sorts of things. So we really want to start kind of diving in and saying, not eliminating, but just moderating.
Yeah, just kind of keeping track of kind of how much of that stuff you're consuming, because like I said, it is something that can quickly snowball effect because it is very addictive. It is very easy to overeat, and in my experience, I even use like a protein bar, for example. Like a protein bar in a pinch, like I'll eat it, and I haven't had one in a long time. And then maybe the next time, like, man, that's pretty good. And then I'll have another one. And then it just continues on in this cycle. And like, man, 3 weeks ago, I wasn't eating any protein bars. And then all of a sudden I'm eating one a day. So it's the same concept with processed food. Like you have some, and then it just makes you crave more and more and more.
And it's easy and it's convenient. But unfortunately, it's not nourishing.
Yeah. So I guess the take-home messages from today, all right, would be the importance of protein. Okay, focus on eating your protein every meal. All right, we want some protein at breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Okay, if you can eat it first, that'd be fantastic. You'll have more energy after your meals throughout the day. It'll keep that blood sugar from spiking.
I think, just to add to that, Cody, I think it's really important to start the day with protein.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because otherwise you get behind.
Yeah,
and I know this from experience.
Yeah, if you don't eat breakfast and you're trying to get 150 grams of protein in a day, it's going to be really hard to do with 2 to 3 meals.
Yes.
So focusing on getting your protein. If you are someone trying to lose weight, make sure you are in a good position metabolically. You want to make sure we're eating a good amount of calories. I personally like to have women probably at at least 2,000 calories a day, and men probably over 3,000 calories a day before I would recommend them trying to lose weight. Obviously, that can have a little bit of variability, but that's a good general guideline that I like to go by before trying to cut down the calories. Because if you're too low, you're not going to have anywhere to go, and it's going to be really going to make the road a lot tougher from that standpoint.
Yeah, 2,000 calories is a pretty good number. I think for maintenance, or even even for weight loss for some women, depending on their muscle mass.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's a great place for most women to start, depending on your age and activity level. But yeah, just if you need help with that, we can help you with that. And just remember, it doesn't happen overnight. It can take time.
Yep. And then the overarch view of the visceral fat, if you're worried about it, get a blood panel done. Take a look at what you're eating. Track a little bit of what you're eating. You might be surprised on how much you are eating and how much changing a little bit in your diet, how big of an impact that can have.
And get educated on what those numbers look like HbA1c, fasting glucose, triglycerides, because some of the recommendations might be, you might be 1 point away from the tipping point. So just educate yourself on what those numbers look like, because it can creep up on you.
Yep. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to Cailie or myself or any of the members here at BFit, and we would love to help you out. Please leave a review on whatever platform you listen to the podcast on. It's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. Please like it, share it, and we will catch you in the next episode. Thank you.
The BFit Blueprint is brought to you by the Calorie House, where furniture shopping is as comfortable as the pieces you'll find there. With the best selection of furniture and mattresses, they make it easy to love coming home after a long day of crushing your goals. Want to elevate your living space as much as your fitness goals? Head to Riverside and Frederick for a personalized shopping experience you'll actually enjoy at the Colony House in St. Joseph.